Morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing okay. We have read the chapter, which is chapter number 5, Reproduction in Plants, and it is on page number 41. We have read the chapter and we have done the explanation. Now we will be doing the exercise and question answers which are mentioned on the exercise. I would like it if you copy these exercise question answers on your copies so that it would be easy for you to learn them later. The exercise questions are as follows. The first question is, how many plants do you know that may be in danger of becoming extinct? Write an account on endangered plants. So the answer is, a report produced by scientists in 2010 claimed that 1/5 of the world's plants are in danger of extinction. The main causes of extinction of plants are loss of habitat, the clearance of vegetation for farmland, houses, roads, factories, etc., and the use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers on farmland. Pollution of the air and water is another cause of the endangering the plants. Working from outside in, list the parts of the flower. The diagram for this question is mentioned on page number 41. So you need to draw it along with this question when you are writing it down on your copies. So the answer is, working from the outside inward, the four main parts of the flower are: number 1, sepal. They protect the flower at the birth stage. Petals. They are often brightly colored to attract insects. They have scent and nectar. Stamen. They are the male reproductive organs and produce pollen grains. Carpel. They are the female reproductive organ. Ovule is the female sex cell. The third question is, insect-pollinated flowers produce fewer and larger pollen grains than wind-pollinated plants. Explain why. Insect-pollinated flowers have fewer and larger pollen grains because once an insect has been attracted to the flower and eaten some of the pollen grains or nectar, there is quite a high chance that it will accidentally carry some of the pollen grains to another flower of the same species. While wind-pollinated plants have to rely on the wind carrying the pollen to another plant of the same species. The pollen grain have to be small so that they blow along easily. There have to be very many of them because most of them will be wasted. If you are growing plants like cucumber in greenhouse with no insects, how are all flowers pollinated? The answer is, in a greenhouse where there are no insects, cucumbers of melon plants often have to be pollinated by hand. The stamen or a small paintbrush bearing pollen is rubbed against the stigma of the flower so that fertilization can occur. How does the nucleus in a pollen grain get from the stigma to the ovary of the flower? The nucleus in a pollen grain passes down the pollen tube inside the stigma of the flower to reach the ovary of the flower. Question number 5 is, what is the difference between pollination and fertilization? Pollination is the transfer of pollen from one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same species, while fertilization is the process that occurs after pollination. In this process, a tiny tube grows from the pollen grain down towards the ovary. A male nucleus from the pollen grain moves down the pollen tube and joins with the nucleus of the female sex cell, the ovule. When the two nuclei have fused together, the ovule is said to have been fertilized. Think about the meanings of the underlined words and make sentences. So the first word is fruit. A fruit is formed from an ovary after fertilization. Seed. A seed develops from a fertilized ovule. Germinate. When a seed starts to grow, it is said to germinate. Cotyledon. Cotyledon is another name for a seed leaf inside a seed. Embryo. The embryo is a miniature plant inside a seed. Plumule. The plumule is the first shoot or stem which grows from a seed as it starts to germinate. Dormancy. Dormancy is the resting or sleeping stage of a seed. Root hair. A root hair is found near the tip of a root which absorbs water and dissolved minerals from the soil. List 4 ways in which plants scatter their seeds. The main ways in which seeds are dispersed or scattered are with the help of wind, by animals, with the help of water, and by explosive mechanism. Question number 9 is, why do you think plants formed in autumn do not grow until following spring? Why seeds formed in dry weather not start to grow until there is rain? So the plants formed in the autumn will not grow during the winter because the temperatures are too low for germination to occur, and seeds formed in dry weather will not grow because they need water to germinate. So basically there are conditions for seed to germinate. If the three conditions are not met, the seed is not going to germinate. Which part of a tomato flower grow to form fruit, fall off after fertilization, remain joined to fruit? So the wall of the ovary grows to form the potato fruit after fertilization. The part which is going to fall off after fertilization is the petals, and the part which is going to remain joined to the fruit is the sepals. Gardeners sometimes cut a large potato in half before they plant it in order to obtain more plants. Where should they make the cut? So the gardeners sometimes cut a potato tuber in half before they plant the two pieces, but they have to make sure that there is a bud or eye in each part of the potato which has to be dug inside the soil. What are the advantages of vegetative reproduction over sexual reproduction in plants? What are the disadvantages? Vegetable reproduction produces young plants that grow quickly. The new plants are identical to the parent plant. While in sexual reproduction, it produces seeds which are often slow to germinate. The seeds, however, contain characteristics of the plants from which the pollen grain came and the characteristics of the plants on which the ovule was fertilized. Sexual reproduction can therefore be used to produce new types of plants. Now we will learn about the question answered made from the book for your better understanding and learning of the chapter. The first question is from page number 41, and it is, how do plants reproduce? So the answer is, plants reproduce with the help of seeds. Second question is also from page number 41, and the question is, what does the stamen consist of? The stamen consists of a stalk called filament. On the stalk there is anther that makes pollen grain, which are the male sex cell. What does the carpel consist of? This question is again on page number 41. Carpel consists of the sticky part, stigma on the top, then a stalk underneath it called style, and at the base of it is an ovary which makes ovules, female sex cell. What is the difference between cross-pollination and self-pollination? This question is on page number 42. Self-pollination is the transfer of pollen from stamen to stigma of the same flower or to another flower on the same plant, while cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen between stamen of one flower to the stigma of flower on different plants of the same species. The next question is again on page number 42. The question is, how can we prevent self-pollination? To prevent self-pollination, flowers often have stamen and carpel ripen at different times. Now the next question is on page number 46. What is endosperm? The embryo is surrounded by a special tissue called endosperm. Next question is again on page number 46. Where does the seed get the food from? Until the plant starts making its own food, it gets the food from tiny seed leaves or cotyledon. Which part of the plant is formed into seed and which part forms the fruit? Ovule becomes the seed while the ovary becomes into a fruit. Now the next question is on page number 47. How do fur or feather of animals help in seed dispersal? A number of fruits and seeds like goosegrass and wood ebons have hooks that attach on the fur or feathers of animals. When the animal travels, it takes the seed along and the seed eventually falls on the soil and starts to grow. The next question is again on page number 47. Name plant seeds that have wings. Seed of sycamore, ash, maple and pine trees have wings. The next question is on page number 48. What does the seed consist of? The seed consists of embryo. The embryo consists of radicle, plumule and tiny leaves, the cotyledon. The next question is on page number 49. How long can a seed remain dormant? A seed remains dormant until the right conditions for germinations are met. Seed can remain dormant for 50 years. Seeds 3000 years old are also been found and made to germinate. The next question is again on page number 49. What does the root hair get from the soil? Root hair gets water and dissolved mineral from the soil. The next question is on page number 50. What happens after the cotyledon opens and becomes green? After the cotyledon open and become green, they make food for the seedling using sunlight, water, mineral salts from soil, and carbon dioxide from air. Name the special conditions for germination. The special conditions are correct temperature, enough water, and air or oxygen. The next question is on page number 50. What is present on the top of a plant that keeps growing? The answer is there is a bird at the top of a small plant which keeps on growing. The next question is, how is the seed of dwarf French beans germinated? Dwarf seeds are pushed up above the soil. When the seeds start to germinate, the cotyledon open and turn green. The next question is, explain some examples of seeds and special conditions required for them to germinate. This question is on page number 51. So the answer is, some native Australian seeds will not germinate until or unless they are scorched by fire. Some seeds only germinate after they have been through digestive system of animals. The next question is on page number 51. Write ways in which plants can reproduce asexually. Some ways in which plants reproduce asexually are by tubers, runners, rooting branches, and cutting. Next question is, which is on page number 51. What are the other names for asexual reproduction? The answer is vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. Which reproduction will be done to make varieties of plants? The answer is sexual reproduction. Now the last question, which is on page number 53, is explain how an onion bud grows. The answer is, if you cut an onion in half, you will see closely packed layers. These are leaves packed with stored food. The onion is actually a swollen bud. If it is planted, a new plant will grow. Thank you.